Droves of workers are now doing the whole work from home thing amid the pandemic this year. But there does seem to be this expectation as we go into 2021, as we do have things like vaccine rollouts start to gain momentum, that more workers are potentially going to be going back to office space. How is that going to be different than what we saw pre-pandemic? And what does that mean for a company like Industrious?
So 1 second of context, we're a national workplace provider. So we have a co-working brand that competes with WeWork, though more premium. And then we also create and manage much larger offices and manage whole buildings. But we do that across, more than 50 cities. So it means we're kind of on the front lines of that conversation you're talking about in New York or San Francisco, but also in Dallas or Tampa. And given that, here's what we're hearing. The theme every company seems to be talking about is employee empowerment, meaning giving employees the choice of when to work from home, when to go into the office, that maybe they'll go in a few days a week, where to live. And that's going to transform a lot of the way that companies solve their workplace needs.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about this whole idea of a hub and spoke model and things like flexible workspace. I guess where does your company fit into that? And when you talk about footprints in 50 markets, where are you seeing the most strength in terms of those return to work conversations?
Yeah, so I think if you say, look, what do employees want? A lot of it is about what you're describing, this concept of distribution. So at the micro level within a city, this hub and spoke model where you have local no commute offices in the LA suburbs, maybe you have your headquarters in downtown LA, and then distribution at the national level. So you have 15, 20 million Americans saying they're thinking about moving. It would be very painful for companies to have to lose those employees by saying you have to work in Chicago come hell or high water, which means every company is scrambling to figure out how to add workplaces, again, in that sort of hub and spoke mode within a metro area, and then planting flags in new cities. It's very hard, unless you have limitless resources, it's very hard for most companies to do that on their own, to stand up 30 offices by constructing and managing them themselves, which means the dominant theme, and you reference this in terms of what the kind of real estate services firms are saying, the dominant theme right now is that you need to use a partner to do that. There's us, there's WeWork. There aren't a lot of companies that you can use for this kind of national network solution. And so we are seeing a lot of demand for that. And what it means for the company is just figuring out how to meet that demand in a way that's safe, in a way that kind of honors companies' cultures and allows them to deliver a great workplace experience for their employees when they buy it as a product from a company like us, rather than when they do it themselves, which is, of course, for the last 70 years, the way most companies have solved their workplace needs.
Jamie, given just the broader context here with, companies looking probably to reduce space in general, landlords needing to just be creative with a lot of vacancies, what is it going to do just in general to rents and just to supply on the market? What would that mean for your company?
So I think traditional long-term leases are going to be a little bit challenged in the coming years. Right now, the average headquarters is about 60% utilized. So on any given day, about 60% of employees are in the office. We would predict, and I think this is a pretty common prediction, it's going to look more like 30% moving forward, which means that companies are going to be able to sort of rejigger their headquarters to make them more appropriate for the type of work people want to do. But it also is going to mean that companies, if possible, are probably going to downsize the amount of space they take in their headquarters. Of course, that'll be offset by adding, more locations in more cities. But I think it's no secret that that will be a very complicated thing for the office industry in general to navigate. We are perhaps a bright corner of that because what we do in particular is seeing increasing demand. But I'm not sure that I would argue that for the broader office industry, this is going to be a banner for a few years.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.